Welcome to Start Canada Podcast, where we interview startup founders, innovators, and thought leaders from the heart of Canada who are challenging the status quo, scaling their business, and bringing new ideas to life. Tune in with me, your host, Margot Miller, to hear firsthand exactly how they did it. Start Canada Podcast is powered by the Manitoba Technology Accelerator, Tech Manitoba, and Scotiabank. In this episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Anthony Halyckyj, the founder of 204 Meal Prep, a company offering fast, convenient meal options delivered direct to your door. But unlike many of the names you may have heard of in this industry, this subscription meal service includes already fully prepared meals, so they're ready in just a couple minutes. Their target market then is young, successful professionals who are health conscious and live busy lives. In our conversation, Anthony shares with us the hurdles of this subscription business model, the experience of purchasing his main competitor, and even some tips for healthy eating. If you've ever wanted to know the ins and outs of a subscription box meal prep company, then this is the episode for you. Anthony, welcome to Start Canada Podcast.
It's been a pleasure. How's it going today?
Oh, I am good, and I am excited to get into your company. But start, if you will, for us at the very beginning.
It's been a journey. I can tell you that for sure. It started about 5 or 6 years ago. I was 2014, 2015. I was helping one of my friends get ready for a fitness competition. He approached me of meal prepping. It was kind of a side thing. Cash into the table, helping a friend out. Kind of progressed into moving into getting into that fitness industry, helping other fitness competitions, competitors, and moving into being approached through other bigger companies and high-end individuals as well. So it was a roller coaster, to say the least.
And at that time, it was a lot of like one-on-one then that you were doing.
Yes, it wasn't. It's not what it was, and not what it is today.
Right.
It started off as one-on-one, building that clientele base, making sure that customer service is the key number one focus on preparing someone's meals. Like other service products, other subscription-based products, you're worried about just one particular item. With food, it's a little different, and making sure that customer care, you're putting something in your body, right? Mm-hmm. Making sure that it's 100% to a T, right? Working in hospitality, you kind of learn that. That's where I spent many of my years throughout university, and getting to that customer service is key for.
And then take me through the evolution. So you're doing one-on-one meal prep or nutrition plan type stuff for people that are doing fitness competitions. Yeah. Fast forward, what are the steps to get you now to a subscription box type meal prep company where you've got all kinds of clients that are strangers? It's less that one-on-one feel now.
Yeah, I find it you need to kind of have that equal balance of doing both, right? With the subscription base, you still try to keep that one-on-one service because it is healthy food, it's nutrition, it's convenience at that point. When you're going to the subscription service, you want to have that real connection with your clients. But you got to hire a team. You got to make sure that those clients are met, and moving to a subscription base, it comes with its positives and negatives in a sense. So, it was it's a journey to say at least.
So early on, when you're dealing with those clients where you're doing the one-on-one, did you think that could be a business for you in and of itself?
I did also realize that the kind of don't want to be greedy, but the money, like it wasn't lucrative enough to expand that business model. I'm not a chef, right?
Right.
And I realized that, like I come from a kin background. I went to school for kinesiology at U of W. I don't have that knack for cooking, but I don't have that certification for being a personal one-on-one chef.
Right.
So I looked into the subscription-based services because I know other competitors out there were around, your HelloFreshes, your other meal subscription boxes that prepared. You get a bunch of ingredients and then you prepare it at home and you get recipes, and that's the model they were doing. But I kind of flipped it on its head and said, hey, why don't I take what I was doing from one-on-one meal prep service for your competitors and moving it into that model of, hey, you're going to get a healthy prepared meal straight to your door on that weekly basis, but it's prepared already. So you take the time out of it. You take the aggravation of going to the store, shopping, dishes, all of it. You pick up the phone or visit our website and everything's done for you.
How early did you know that would work? Because there are already those big competitors out there, right? In the market.
Yeah.
You had this maybe a little bit of a different niche, but like, how did you validate that maybe?
It was a lot of market research. Like I had to take steps to find out that what the other competitors were doing, what they were doing right, what they were doing wrong, and kind of adopt that into the model that I'm currently using today. I realized that the subscription based, it's great because you're getting that guaranteed income. You know what your clients are doing, what their orders are going to be. You got to set a menu, and you kind of can shop for the back end as well as the front end, and listen to the customers what they want, and then shop from what you need as a back end, and then make sure that that subscription is met on a weekly basis instead of going on a one-on-one basis where it's like, I want X, Y, and Z, and then you have X, Y, and Z and A, B, C and E, F, G and so many different variables.
All the customization.
All the customization, where it was better just to move into that subscription model where you have a base menu and now you can model and scale that business to that level, right?
Right. And certainly you were nice earlier, in joking about, at the end of the day, we do have to do something that's going to make us money. So you had to have something that was going to be scalable at some point. Did you lose any clients from the original batch that you were kind of testing it with when you said, like, listen, I'm only doing 5 options now or 10 options or whatever it was?
Yes and no. I try to keep everyone happy. I've learned that in business is that you got to also work out for yourself, and you also got to look for your customers. I'm slowly moving into the here's our set menu. If you want customization, we can do it, but this is what our options are, rather than having 1,001 different options to choose from. It was a constant battle of figuring out logistics. Like that's what, and I spend many times trying to research how other companies grow in that space, and it's so cross comparable from every single different subscription company that you start off with just one little product, and what can make this scalable? And I'm realizing now that with the company I have now, that having that those multiple products across the board and getting rid of the customization for the everyday client is the route to grow this company into something bigger. Not saying that we are not able to do the customization, because that's what our bread and butter and the company was built on, the baby. But you got to adapt to the times, right? Mm-hmm. People want fast and convenience. They want healthy and ready made, right? So especially what's going on in the world right now, that we got to kind of pivot to what the society and what customers want rather than what we were doing. So it's adaptability at the end of the day, right? Mm-hmm.
Well, and ultimately, you're not going to please everybody, right? Like you do have to, in a way, pick a path, because your time can only be used in so many places at once.
Right.
Right. But you're growing your team. So, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but take me back to the beginning when you were working with various athletes in training. And I think from your story, your history, you've also worked with some CFL players, some of the Bomber team doing meal prep. What was that experience like? And what were you able to kind of learn from it?
Yeah. Like right around the same time that I started out doing all this back in 2014, 2015, I was approached by a couple of the Bomber players to do their meal prep because they understood the value of nutrition as being a high-level athlete, right? That was great for a little while. They were really supportive. I talked to many of the Jets players and the Goldeyes as well to help them move their nutrition into a higher level, right? The correlation between nutrition and meal prep and having healthy meals. Like Mark Scheifele has a personal chef. A lot of the Bomber players do meal prep by themselves. A lot of professional athletes do meal prep by themselves, or find other companies and do it that way. And they see a correlation between nutrition and high performance. So from bringing that to everyday individuals, high-level income earners, people that want to succeed in this realm, there's a huge correlation between that high-level anything and proper nutrition, right?
Yeah, I mean, I even look at your product and think like, I should probably be using this right now, right? Because it is, for busy people, it makes a lot of sense. When you're talking about getting all those really neat opportunities of working with these various teams and athletes, why you, Anthony? Like, how did you manage to make that your opportunity? Because I think a lot of people would love to be able to work with athletes, especially if that's their background, they're going into nutrition or they're hoping to work with a professional sports team. How did you get that opportunity for yourself?
I don't know. I couldn't even tell you. I might have been lucky. I don't know if it was the connections between the community that I had with being in that sports realm at the university. Networking is key, I find, and meeting those individuals. And I think word of mouth is key. Like Winnipeg is such a small city that it's that big town, small town kind of big city, small town kind of feel that once your word gets around that you have an amazing product and amazing service and the knowledge and the capacity to move the product from start to finish with the customer service aspect behind it.
The reliability.
I feel that people really latch onto that. Like we've just seen a big movement with support local during these times. And I feel that a lot of people in the city are really interested in supporting that local aspect. And I find like that really helped me many, many years ago. Now it's paying its dividends now when everyone else is trying to help that, we're trying to pay back as well too. Right. So it's a catch-22, right? That's what I found when I got those opportunities. I didn't know how I got those opportunities. It kind of just fell in my lap and I had to run with it. Like I had to go, right? I couldn't say, well, I guess they can just find someone else. No, like you take that opportunity to run with it. Like with the meal prep, it took it. Now I'm here, right? Like I couldn't say no to back then. And I stumbled a lot. Like I had no idea what I was doing. It was kind of crazy. A little backstory before that, like, when the Bombers approached me, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing when it came to the meal prep process. Like I had to I built a website. Like I was in my final exams at the time, built a website in 3 days, built a PowerPoint presentation from scratch while doing all these exams on the side. Presented it to the few Bombers that came to see me at Earl's one day and said, okay, this is what I have. This is what you're going to get. And they liked it. Like I sold them somehow on, I took that initiative and did it. And I feel that a lot of entrepreneurs nowadays have have that barrier. They're doubting themselves, whatever they're going to do, and to be honest, just do it. Like that's what I'm finding is that like if I didn't do what I did back then and just persevered and just put 110% into it, that I wouldn't be here and with that without that opportunity, right?
Yeah, that's a great attitude that it seems like you had, and you know, obviously it worked out for you. But what about that period of time where you're still doing that kind of stuff as the side hustle type thing, right? And you're clearly like, you know, jumping on the opportunity, but how do you know when it's right to go from side hustle to feed in?
I think that comes internally. Like with every entrepreneur, I think there's a time in their life where they kind of sit back and say, okay, is this something that I can be doing for the rest of my life? Or is this something that it's going to be just one of those side hustles, right? Backstory, like my parents came from an entrepreneurial background, right? They had a really big video production company back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, early 90s, before they had me and my brother. And they were really successful, but they were also doing it on the weekends. And my parents worked full-time jobs and they did this on the side. And I maybe that's where I saw a little correlation between how I operated and how they operated, is that they could have took that and adapted with the times. Because now we're sitting on a beautiful set here and there's so much more technology. And I think they got pushed out by the technology. They didn't take that leap of faith and doing that
to stay ahead of it. With what I did, when I said, you know what, like, this is something that can be a multi-billion-dollar industry. And it is a multi-billion-dollar industry for what it is. And I feel that a lot of entrepreneurs are taking that leap of faith of doing your research, knowing what it is, but it's also coming in internally and saying, is this something I want to do for the rest of my life? Or is that something that it's something that like I'm just going to keep it as a side hustle? You got to really dig deep and understand like what is your why, right? Like start with why. Like Simon Sinek, I think his last name is I read the book and like he really kind of at the same time of like me saying, okay, am I going to go from doing this part time and working in my career with my kin, or as a personal trainer, or whatever that might be, or is this something that I can open more opportunity and doors doing the meal prep side and helping other people just succeed in their life goals and like their life dreams. And I think I totally know that I've made the right opportunity and right decision to do that opportunity of doing this, right? So it comes down to trying to figure out if it's worth it internally. Like a lot of entrepreneurs are going to struggle with that, but understand why, like start with your why, right? Why do you want to do this? And then go from there, right? So yeah,
I think that was that point where I'm like, I sat down and I was like, hey, I got something here.
You felt the passion.
I felt the passion,
right?
Right. Yeah.
So, and I always wonder this too, and I think sometimes our listeners ask us about this type of thing where you've got the kinesiology background, right? And in there, you're learning about what your body needs. So some of that like nutritional information is part of that, right? But people might argue that to start a subscription box company, you're better off having a business background, like a business degree, right?
Right.
When you balance those two things and where you are today, can you pull out actually the strengths that you have or the knowledge you had that actually was the most impactful to your business now?
Yeah. I was on the edge too. Like I was finishing off kin and I went back and did a business degree. Right. And I always had that knack for business. Like I looking back at it, I was like, I should have done business. I would have done way better in school. I would have graduated 3 times faster and spent a lifetime in school as a professional student. And I went back and I did project management I didn't even finish. I did 6 months of the program. I was the top of the heap because I realized what I was doing in my business side and the entrepreneurial side and what I was doing on the business courses and life had a correlation. And it was that point in time where it was managing your time, figuring out what had to be done, and doing a full course load at a project management level and doing condensed courses and getting things done and being on the top of the class to going to travel and say, is this really worth it? That's what took that. It was the summer of 2016. That was the time that I really stepped away from doing professional student to moving into a full-fledged entrepreneur and really finding the reason why I had to do it. And like, I pulled things from my project management course, pulled stuff from self-development because I was huge into self-development at the time, pulled that stuff from kinesiology, from understanding the benefits of nutrition and health and fitness. And it kind of just came together, right? It was really
the right mix of ingredients.
Yeah, it was the
one
right
might say.
Yes. Yeah. It was brewing something. It was some sort of stew was going on.
Do you think, you mentioned earlier about your parents having experience as entrepreneurs as well. Yeah. Do you think that played a part in this? Do you think it helped you maybe to believe that you also could do it?
I look back on it now and I think it did. Like it was interesting to have that upbringing that I would run around with my parents at wedding shows and at weddings or bar mitzvahs or whatever they did with their little camera cases and understood the hustle of like getting things done, right? And my parents would come home absolutely exhausted at the end of the day and put a roof over my head and put me through school and did all that. But they made a lot of sacrifices to get to that point. I think that's where a lot of my drive came from. Because obviously when you're getting older, you're like, why am I the way I am today? Right. And
you self-assess a little bit more.
And you take that time and really think about what got you here. And I think that was the reason why. And now like my mom's working for me, at the business, right? She's got that. She's like, can't say her age, but she's getting up there in age, but she's like a spring chicken in that kitchen, right? She's busting around and doing her thing, and she absolutely loves it and like loves helping out. And I think that's got her back into that entrepreneurial spirit that she felt when she was raising me and my brother, right? So it's kind of interesting that everything's kind of going full circle in life, and I find that a lot of people need that time to reflect and find out what their true passion is.
We've talked sometimes on the show in the past about trying to watch how much investment you take from family members, because there's always that risk, like if it fails now, you like feel really bad with your family. What about, but I haven't asked the question before, Anthony, about the piece of having your family actually work for you. Has there been hurdles you've had to overcome with that, or is it just kind of fun? Tell us about that experience.
Interesting. It is it's your parents, right? Like you can't but at the end of the day, you're the boss.
Yeah.
And there's that, there has to be that disconnect, right? It's like, I understand that they raised you, you have to have that level of respect for them. But with handling the business, I wouldn't have it any other way, right? They put a lot of effort and time and investment into the business because they want to see you succeed. Before, when I started this, they were like, "Oh yeah, you can go cook in a community kitchen and you can do the bombers. It's great, sweetie. You're doing great." And I'm like, "Thanks." And then fast forward 5 years, and I have my own facility, and I have a staff of 15, and hundreds and thousands of people that I'm feeding in Winnipeg, right? Like it grew leaps and bounds in 3 or 4 years. Like I can't even explain from what happened from 2018 to now. It's kind of like return on like my business grew by 400% in 1 year. Was able to move into a brand new facility. And I know you were touched on it earlier, buying out the competition, the major competition in Winnipeg. It kind of came really, really fast. Like I couldn't even explain the leaps and bounds that went through.
What does that feel like to grow that fast?
I aged a lot.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, I had to double down on a lot of things. Like, you can't put your foot into the little deep end and you're going to hear your noise from outside people saying, oh, that's a bad decision. Like, trust me, like when I was looking into purchasing the competition, I had so many people saying, is that the right thing to do right now? You just got this place. You should be really focusing on this. And I'm like, well, yes, but you don't understand the master plan. You don't understand what I'm trying to do. There's going to be totally, like, from all entrepreneurs out there, there's going to be a lot of outside noise coming in. But stay focused on that why, like what I touched on earlier. With that, like it's crazy on how much you have to really focus on, surround yourself with a ton of great individuals, network as much as you can. You can't really do that now, but it's really hard. But there's tons of mastermind groups that you can be a part of. Reach out to like local individuals in the community or elsewhere and talk to those people that you want to be, right? Rather than talk to the people that are going to kind of hold you back, but have the same best intentions in mind, right?
Best intentions, maybe just a little more risk adverse.
Right.
Yeah. And like you said, you made a really good point when you said that they don't necessarily see the full picture, right? Because not everyone is privy to all that information that you have.
Right.
So you grew really rapidly there. You casually mentioned growing 300 to 400% in a year. Can you pinpoint how you were able to do that?
Advertising. Like marketing, advertising, leaps and bounds, right? Like, I was at that same time, I was still kind of half in, half out. Am I really going to do this? Like, and I sat down with a marketing agent, and he's like, "Hey, you need to really pump this up. Like, you have a great idea. There's the potential of making this huge, and I'm glad I did. Like I social media, email marketing, like word of mouth, phone number, surveys, like just trying to grow what people want in the city and delivering on that, and moving from a kitchen that was maybe as big as this set right now to something that's as big as this building, right? It was crazy on how much I had to grow in a short period of time and scramble of the struggle of trying to figure out rental space for especially with community kitchens in the city. It's a tough going for anyone that's in the food industry, let alone meal prep, like
because of the health standards.
Because you have to adhere to health standards, and a lot of people are doing home-based businesses, and obviously the government doesn't like that. And but what I've done with what I have going right now with my business is I've opened up the opportunity for smaller business. I have 8 to 10 smaller businesses in my facility right now, all socially distanced, all socially safe,
right?
Working to make those dreams they have a reality. Just kind of like I had a dream 3 years ago and couldn't find space to do it.
And Anthony, that seems like a whole other business, because now you're renting space, you're, like a landlord, you've got different responsibilities to these clients that are using your space. Do you feel like that's a whole other business, or did it just kind of feel necessary to have the space that you needed for your business?
That was the point of like kind of giving back. Like I learned that like, what's your legacy? What do you want to do with your company, right? And that's kind of where I brought that sense of community back into what 204 meal prep represents, right? So helping other companies like that move into that space. So that was huge. But like growing that by 300-400% in 1 year, any company can do that right now. Like there's a ton of companies that are doing that right now, from farmers markets to national branding, right? And the lack of that acquisition of I would say infrastructure for those individuals are few and far between, where I had to find a way to give that back to those people, because I struggled trying to find rental kitchens after rental kitchens after rental kitchens to grow. Imagine doing 1 week you're doing 100 meals, the next week you're doing 1,000. Like it's like that's what it came to. It was like that, and it was crazy on how as an entrepreneur you have to think on your feet and get those things done, right? Like I said before.
Who supported you most along the way through all those major changes?
A lot of my family, a lot of my friends. They really supported the brand, even though they gave me a hard time about it. It was with love, right? Like you are the 5 people that you surround yourself with, and I do have that good clique of people that really grew that the business in a sense, and then reaching out to those high end business professionals throughout the community to say, okay, what do I need to do this? Like,
did high end business professionals just answer you though? Like, are they just, we've got a good enough community that people were willing to respond to your questions?
A lot of them were my clients.
Okay,
right. So it was, you built that, like I said before, building that one-on-one connection with those clients, right? Even though it's a subscription service, right?
Yeah.
You still need to know who your clients are at the end of the day. And they helped me grow the business. And I've talked to them and asked them, okay, well, what can I do here? What would you suggest? Like you're a high-end professional. What have you done in your career to better?
And that's maybe a good tip too, like just to ask that question of your customers and clients, that even if they are high-end individuals, not being afraid to just ask them.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think Gary Vee actually touched on that, like DMing 30 people that you want to be with. And if one responds, then hey, it's 1 out of 30 and they're going to give you immense more knowledge than what you have now, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of took that away from it too, and reached out to these people and try to communicate and network with those individuals.
That's great. So now I want you to talk to us a little bit about what you've learned along the way of creating a subscription box company. So in your case, it's not just a typical subscription box, it's with perishable items.
Yes.
So because you've got to get the food at a certain time. So just give us the Coles Notes of a subscription box company, period.
Well, it's a difficult question, because it's easy to do non-perishable items because you can store inventory, you can have a fulfillment by X day and deliver to your door, and you don't have to worry about anything going bad.
Right.
With food, it's a little different. It's coming down to knowing what your food safety is, figuring out the logistics behind getting insulated boxes, and making sure things are temped correctly, making sure that they're delivered within an hour of production, or taking out of cold space to bringing it to upon delivery. Thermal bags, like there was a whole bunch of things that I had to come across and hurdles. Pickup, like community kitchens couldn't do pickup, so I had to figure out a way of asking the community kitchen, can I do pickups here? Because then if I don't do pickups, then I have to deliver it, and then I have hundreds of deliveries and this and that, where my delivery drivers did an immense job of delivering the final product to the client. But there's so much things with a perishable item that people don't think about when it comes, oh yeah, you're just delivering food. It's just like skip the dishes. And I'm like, Yes and no. But yeah, like making sure that your fulfillment's done on time, preparing everything up to a proper, safe food grade temperature that I had to learn, and making sure that it's cooled down to a proper temperature, delivered at a proper temperature. There's so much like risk analysis that you had to take into account that I didn't even think about when I was scaling, that I didn't think about before I started scaling. Like it was, I'm now thinking like I implemented those procedures now, and it's taken a month more resources that I wasn't even anticipating on taking, but making sure that that final product is great for the customer. And there's so many opportunities to take the perishable way, like the perishable route, like vacuum sealing. That's eventually what I want to do, and grow the company that way, because then you can store your product at a safer temperature, keeping it refrigerated or frozen, so you don't have to worry about getting that perishable product in the danger zone, so the customer and the consumer can have it, kind of like what your other food service boxes are doing right now. And it's a lot of logistics, right? So yeah, it was a learning journey.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Yeah.
I'm curious in there too about your evolution of customer acquisition with a subscription box company, because it is maybe a bit of a different market than where you started. Do you have any advice if someone's starting a subscription box, specifically, obviously in your case as a meal prep, but around that customer acquisition piece?
Customer acquisition was an interesting topic that one of like the marketing and marketing team and I kind of touched on, and we're like, okay, well, we know who our target audience is. We got to figure out that target audience now and put that into place to get that customer acquisition. And how much is that going to cost? What hurdles that they need to do we need to get that raw chicken breast to a meal to the door? Like it took a lot of team building, and I'm glad I kind of did a lot of it myself, but I had that team to do it with. The customer acquisition portion, I found that targeting those high-end individuals, figuring out what their day-to-day activities were, who they are, as like LinkedIn was huge to figure out. Okay, that's where I try to do a lot of my networking, pulled a lot of my network off of, because if you're on LinkedIn, you're already busy. You're looking for something healthy, and getting that access to nutrition is hard, because a lot of them end up at their cafeteria or ordering in, and it's not always the best food. And then they're spending long hours at the office, and kind of gearing towards that side of the customer acquisition of saying, okay, this is my target audience. This is what they're doing. This is what the service I provide. How do we get into these people's hands? So reaching out to those people saying, hey, I know you're busy, but we got a solution for you, right? So that's kind of where the customer acquisition kind of went
and evolved
from. And now we're moving into a whole different realm of like customer acquisition, right? It's what we're doing now. Like,
yeah, and I'm going to jump to that with you in just a second, but we're going to have our speed round really quickly here, Anthony. And so, you know the rules, quick answers. And then I want to get back to that, because I do want to talk to you as well about your acquisition of the other local competitor that we were dealing with. So right away here, to start us off, describe yourself in a word or two.
Ambitious.
Okay. What motivates you?
Hard work.
What keeps you up at night?
Ooh, good one. My cats.
Okay. Who's been the most influential person for you?
My mother.
What is one thing in business that you are so happy you did?
Start.
What is most important for your mental health?
I thank my girlfriend for this. Disconnecting.
Good. Yeah. What's one thing that you were wrong about?
Not starting sooner.
How do you personally continue to learn and grow?
A lot of self-development and reaching out to those people that you want to be. Yeah.
Where are you in 10 years?
Retired on a beach in Mexico.
Ooh. What does being a leader mean to you?
Helping others.
That's our speed round.
Awesome.
You did very well, actually. You were pretty quick
Yeah.
at that. Yeah. Okay, Anthony. Well, from that, I do have a few things I wanted to follow up with you on, such as when you were talking about the mental health piece and saying that you do like just self-development. Are there certain tricks that you do? Like someone with a good background in eating well, exercising, like are those the key things? Or do you do meditation, that kind of stuff? Like give us a sense of that.
I didn't get into the whole meditation part, but the whole manifesting is huge. I'm getting more into that aspect. As a healthy individual, a lot of my stress relief is from going to the gym, right? Can't do that now, but working out from home, doing those meditations, self-reflection, journaling, that's key to balancing out that mental health.
Yeah.
Having someone else in your corner to kind of talk about those issues and kind of guide you through and navigate your life, right? Because work can consume you, and trust me, it does. And I can attest to that. But finding time to disconnect and getting that, you can't be everyone's shoulder, and you can't be that strong individual all the time. You have to be able to unwind at the end of the day.
You too. Yeah. Anthony, from the perspective of this like triangle of things that we need to do, including, nutrition, health, sleep, all those things, give me some feedback, because personally, my area of that triangle that's the worst is certainly the nutrition piece, because I'm very busy. So you've got this perfect clientele that you've found here.
Yeah.
But what have you learned along the way, like from schooling all the way through digging into this as a business, that you could give us as advice on just doing a few things maybe easy to get a little better on that nutrition pillar?
I'm actually doing 75 hard. It's a fitness, wellness, self-development program. Andy Frisilla is the person that developed this program. 75 days, do 2 workouts. One has to be outside, 45 minutes. Drink a gallon of water. Read 10 pages of a non-fictional book. And no alcohol, and follow a diet for 75 days.
Okay.
I failed a lot.
I was going to say, I'm like, that would be really hard for me to do all those things.
Yes. And what I took a little bit by little bit, right? Like diving head first, like what I'm finding is like diving head first into a lot of things, you're just going to fail a few days later, right? Taking those baby steps, because I failed 75 hard 2 or 3 times, and coming back to you is that taking those, like maybe try drink more water a day, right? Because water is key for a lot of bodily functions, brain health, skin, like motor functions. There's tons of benefits to water. So even drinking more water every day, eating healthy. I trust me, I don't eat as healthy because I have my cheat days and whatever. I like my sweet. I have a sweet tooth. Don't get me wrong. Like love.
I feel you.
I love sweets.
Yeah.
Chocolate, kryptonite. But moderation, like eating healthy in moderation, right? You can't just be always healthy all the time. And this is coming from a guy that preaches health and like.
Yeah. But I mean, I am asking you for like a regular person too, you know? Like I'm not necessarily asking for someone who wants to like change their whole life, but it's just all of us could do a little bit better. So I think
like,
that's a good point.
Yeah, moderation is key. Like drink more water, do small steps, like finding time to do at least like, instead of taking the elevator, walk up the stairs, right? Like small things to change the overall thing. Like what Andy was saying is that this program is supposed to help you in other aspects of your life rather than just doing a fitness program. Like you're gonna get healthy, you're gonna eat better, you're gonna sleep better, you're gonna drink more water, but like it comes down to doing those small little tasks to make your overall performance better. So what I'm saying is that taking those little like small tasks that you want to improve on at the beginning of the year, it's January now, like New Year's resolutioners out there, take those small tasks and break it down into, or take that big goal and break it down into small tasks and then work on those small tasks on a daily to better that overall goal, right? So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. What about when you say to eat healthy? I feel like people have a different vision of what that is. What do you mean when you say that?
Whatever makes you feel good, right? I did the whole diet phase. I lost a whole bunch of weight. I did the whole fitness competition, tried to do the fitness competition, and it wasn't really great for my mental health because you're so laser focused on one thing that you forget that overall balance of life. And what I'm saying is that try to have that balance of eating healthy, because there's so much benefits to eating healthy, but also don't feel bad that you're gonna eat a chocolate or pound down a tub of ice cream watching Netflix. Like it's not gonna really affect you that much because there's a lot of balance between your mental sanity and your physical sanity. But as long as you feel good, you're working out, you're
making those small changes, like you're saying,
on a daily basis. That's seriously the key, right? No one's perfect, right? So
that's right. Okay, as promised, I want to totally change us topics here. And I want to talk about the Prairie box company that you acquired. So this was your main competitor here locally. And you've gone through your own journey. You're just opening your big new kitchen, right? I think timing-wise. And then you get this opportunity that comes in front of you. So just talk us through like what happened in that period of time.
It was last year this time. Like got the kitchen in November in 2019, and got approached by the co-owners and the co-founders of Prairie Box. They were located on Grant Avenue. They were my major competition for as long as 204 Meal Prep was in existence. It turns out that they started April 2016 and I started June 2016. It was just so happened that we started at the exact same time. The two founders approached me, made an offer, and back and forth. And we finally settled on a number. And this was February 28th, 2020. So 2 weeks after the whole major shutdown of COVID. And I decided I'm like, I'm already in it. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? And bought the business and realizing, merging two business. People are like, are you going to merge two businesses into one?
Yeah.
Are you going to differentiate? Like, what are you going to be doing with your competition? Like, the branding's amazing. Like,
the branding that they did as well as what you did.
What I did, right? But I'm thinking long term. I'm like, hey, Prairie Box, it could be a national brand, right? It could be a across Western Canada brand. And that's the reason. Like 204 is great for the local, and that was my opportunity of expanding into other provinces, is moving into 604 Meal Prep and 413 or whatever, Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal. But with Prairie Box, it's like, okay, well, now I have Regina and Saskatoon and Calgary.
Many people identify as being part of the prairies.
Right? We're part of the prairies. Like, Prairie people love helping Prairie people.
Yeah.
So it was
So you decided to keep the brand separate, basically.
Yeah, kept the brand separate, and revamped the whole, like literally broke down to like the bare minimum and started building my way up. So I tried to rebuild a business that had 3 years of just like work while doing that stuff, and then rebuilding it from the ground up. Brought on a new team, brought on like asked for help, like, and built it to a point where we just relaunched our new website with things that our clients wanted from Prairie Books, and doing that now. And then we're readapting that with, I was trying to readapt that with 204 Meal Prep. So it's kind of hard to balance two brands, two companies at the same time.
Yeah, even though they have similarities, do you feel like you're running two totally different businesses some days?
Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Do you have other staff that work for both businesses? Or when you're saying you rehired there, do you try and keep them really separate?
No, I pretty much broke down both companies down to the bare minimum and said, okay, let's figure out where our commonalities are, what our differences are, and then build towards that. So Prairie Box is going to be for your everyday individuals that want to eat healthy, but are not on the major health conscious side, where 204 Meal Prep is going to focus on your diet specific areas and customization. So I went really pretty much 360 back to what I was doing before with 204 Meal Prep, because I found that a lot of my clients from Prairie Box want that customization and that keto or vegetarian or vegan and gluten-free, dairy-free, all that diet, paleo, whatever your diet is, that's what 204 Meal Prep is going to do, even though it's going to have some other meals intertwined with that, but having that main concept. And then Prairie Box is going to be your everyday healthy meals that we can start scaling.
Do you almost feel like that allowed you to like fill the gap that maybe you couldn't do before? Like, because now you're truly allowed to do both things without having to cut one out of your value proposition?
Yeah. That was huge, because it came down to like I was butting heads with them because I was focused on just what I just said with 204 for so long, but realized that I had to move into that aspect.
Into their space, essentially.
Yes. Yeah. And now I'm pretty much have that space where I can improve on it and bring new ideas to it with the health side and the convenience side of what 204 Meal Prep is.
And now you're the guy. You've got it all covered.
Yeah.
Now, and you made that process sound really easy, Anthony, as far as like, we talked about some numbers and then here we are.
Yeah.
You hadn't bought a company before.
No.
And again, you were in the middle of a bunch of other things. It's early COVID. What was your biggest takeaway from that experience of the actual acquisition itself?
I lost a lot of sleep. And I think it was the years of like self-development, figuring out what your why was. And that kind of went full circle, and understanding that, okay, this is what I have to do. I understand that the outside world is going crazy, but you really can't control the outside world. You can only control your backyard. And I feel that a lot of people get caught up in figuring out their neighbor's backyard rather than looking at theirs. And that's what I did. Like, I just laser focused and figured out what I needed to do to grow both businesses inside a pandemic and a business acquisition and taking on new contracts and growing it to what it is today and into the future. It was a struggle. Long nights figuring out plans, scrapping plans, redoing, reevaluating. It took a year. Like, it wasn't overnight. Like I just said it was. I just relaunched our websites today, right? To make sure that it was, and that was a hurdle in itself, to making sure that getting every little thing down to a point where you're still going to find
Bugs
issues
and
with
glitches,
it.
yeah.
Bugs and glitches is part of life, but I'm such a perfectionist in that sense that I need to make sure that everything is perfect before getting out there.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that like I maybe took away from starting is that you got to have that balance of like, you need to do it and figure it out on the way. But when you're getting into an establishment of running another company and then taking over a lot of great things and not great things of another company and then trying to do that with your same company, you got to really sit back and say, okay, like every little thing needs to have a plan. You just can't just dive head first in it, because then you're just going to be like spinning tires and not getting anywhere fast. You kind of have to like,
there's a cautious balance there somewhere,
yeah,
right?
it's a weird balance of like, when you start, you're going, right? But then you can't keep your foot down all the time when you're in entrepreneurship, because you're going to run out of gas. Like you need to like kind of ease
and you might be in
off.
the middle of nowhere with no help anymore at that
Exactly.
point. Yeah. So Anthony, you mentioned earlier that in this whole evolution of what you're doing, you're at a point now where you've kind of found creative ways to start giving back. And so you mentioned like with the kitchen space that you have now, there's other people that can use it. And it's this great kind of like community environment. There's some other things I think that you're thinking of doing in the future that are other ways of kind of growing the community aspect of what you're doing. Tell us a bit about those.
Yeah. There's a great program that just came out, Leftovers, and they take all your leftovers from your kitchen and sell it to the less fortunate, right? I want to get to that point where the access of nutrition for just our meals and everyone else's meals are there. Like if you can go to McDonald's and buy a Big Mac for whatever, $17 or whatever, $15 right now, where you can, it's ridiculous. Like, trust me. Or you can go to like a meal prep company or a health food thing, and get it priced accordingly. Like it should, like access to nutrition shouldn't be a burden on individuals. It should be something that, something that's easily accessed. And that's what I want to get with my company, is that I want to make sure that everyone's eating healthy and finding the benefits of eating healthy. I think everyone knows that they have to eat healthy, but it's also that there's a barrier between that. And that's what I kind of want to get to. Like that's why I teamed up with the Leftovers program, to kind of give back to those less fortunate that can't get that access to that nutrition, right?
Yeah, that's so wonderful. It's very clear that you've found your passion, because you're trying to do even more than you need to do, right? And so it's very clear that you've found that right place for you.
Got to build a legacy.
That's great, yeah. Anthony, if people want to learn more about everything we talked about here today, where do they go to find you?
Follow us on social media,
Okay.
204 Meal Prep, and Prairie Box. Find us Instagram, Facebook, and reach me directly via email. And I'm more than welcome to give a hand and lend a hand. So,
thanks so much. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
If you're looking to start or grow your big idea, catch more episodes like this one right here. Be sure to comment below, follow us on social, and don't forget to subscribe to the show. Just click the subscribe button here below. And every 2 weeks, we release a new episode with inspiring conversations and tips just for you. Thanks for watching.